Aloha, this is your astrologer Tom, and what I have for you today is this Facebook post that I came across. And what it is it's somebody who's saying, "What's your sign? How relatable?" And then what they did was they took tweets that they found on Twitter and associated them with the energy of the 12 different signs. So I stepped through each of these, and I will do that to explain what's going on here. And what I liked about this at quick glance is it was talking about the energy of the sign. Okay. And even though at the top it says, "What's your sign?" kind of implying a little bit more like sun sign or whatnot. I like that it's not generalizing, it's not calling out saying, "Hey, if you're an Aries sun, if you have a sun in Aries, here's what you might say on Twitter," or something like that. Or even trying to claim that the person who wrote what they wrote is that particular sun sign. Because as we go through this, you'll see that this energy can play out in different ways. And one of the things that I do when I problem solve with clients is as they're talking to me, that I'm paying attention to in their chart where the energy is that they're talking about. And so as we dive into this, you'll begin to get a grasp as to what I'm referring to. So I'm going to be a little bit easier on this particular post than I was on the last post in the previous video I did, where I just yeah, there was a lot of just things that were just completely false in that other previous post. So in this one is a little bit better, but let's go through it just so I can elaborate. So let's look at the Aries one. So this says, so this person labeled these. These are not my labels of the signs. This is what this Facebook post is saying. This Facebook post labeled this as Aries energy, learning to say okay instead of suck my blank, but it's hard. And this is interesting. So, what might be Aries about this? Um, it could be the spontaneity. It could be the going for it. Now this is maybe in a romantic sense or in a relationship sense. And so I might, if somebody said, "Hey, this is my problem," I might look at the eighth house cusp. I mean, it could be Mercury and Saturn in play. It could be Venus in play. It could be the eighth house cusp in play. It could be so like why do I say Saturn? Because learning to just say okay, learning to just let it kind of pass as opposed to just kind of go for it a little bit, maybe more Saturnian. So there could be an opposition in this person's chart that we have to look at. It could be Venus, it could be wherever whatever the maybe the ruler. I mean, you could look at where Scorpio is in the chart and where Aries is and see if there's a rulership or some mutual reception going on there or something like that, to get an idea. So the idea though is this describing Aries energy? I mean, maybe to some degree there is a little bit of Aries in there. I would want to look at the rest of the chart to get a better idea. So let's move on to Taurus here. So Taurus, I'm such a no, it's okay, and then suffer in silence kind of person. I mean, that again, I don't know that I would necessarily say that it's Taurian. What about it might be Taurus? This is more of the Aries Libra axis. This is actually more of the Aries Libra axis, perhaps. Could be it's not really going to be the Cancer Capricorn axis, but it could have a play on the sign of Cancer as well because of taking, when they say suffer in silence. So I would need to better understand what this person means by saying no, it's okay, and then suffering in silence. Is it when when somebody's asking them if they want help? Is it like what area of life? Because we need to track this down. The Taurus aspect of this, may be that yeah, they're just stuck. They're staying stuck, right? Because the lower expression of Taurus can remain stuck. The lower expression or a higher expression of Aries, depending on the context, could be that somebody moves pretty quickly, right? So the Taurian aspect of this might be that they're a little bit stuck. But I would need to ask this person a bit more questions, and then look at their chart to better understand what's going on here. The Gemini energy, this person says people be like, you have a voice in your head, and then yeah, okay, I got like 7, we're having a meeting, be quiet. So this could be Gemini, but again, where? Is it Mercury in Gemini? Actually, if there's that many voices, so to speak, going on in the person's head, maybe it is the Mercury. Maybe it's the third house cusp, right? The house of communication. So it is possible that it is possible that this is more Gemini type energy. We're having a meeting, so there's a lot of movement going on in the person's mind. This does actually kind of begin to describe Gemini. I would look at the person's third house. I would look at the person's Mercury, and I would look at where Gemini is in their chart. But this one actually could be the actual energy of Gemini. Now, again, we're not talking necessarily about sun sign. We're talking about that energy play, right? There's a lot of communication going on there. Okay. Cancerian energy. I'm such a but I feel bad type of person. Yes, very much so on this one. Lower expression Cancer energy can take things personally in a sense, can just what happens depending on where the placement is, they really begin to feel into each other's feelings, and they can and it's like if somebody else is having a bad day, they may feel like they're having a bad day, or they may feel bad for reasons that just don't make logical sense because they're feelings. And so this does begin to describe a little bit of lower expression Cancerian energy. Leo energy, they say you attract what you fear, unconditional love and affection. I'm so scared. I see what the person's getting at by posting. When I say the person, I'm referring to the people on Twitter. I don't think really necessarily know the astrology aspect of this. It's the person who then took this and labeled it as Leo energy in the Facebook post. And I think that person's basically saying, yeah, it's like, okay, if you're fearing unconditional love and affection, that is very much a lower expression Leo kind of thing. It's like, hey, make it about me, and whatnot. And so um, that is more of the pride aspect of Leo, if you will, which can be more lower expression. Virgo, I'll stop being an overthinker when I stop being right about the things I was overthinking. Is that Virgo or is that Aquarius? Virgo does overanalyze in its lower expression, but Aquarius, such a deep thinker, such a deep thinker. Now they're saying overthinker. I mean, but Aquarius, it can be thinking way ahead of its time, can be very novel in its approach to ideas. And the interesting thing is, okay, when I stop being right about the things that I was overthinking, is there a shoot? I mean, is there a sextile, an aspect called a sextile between an Aquarius placement and a Sagittarius placement? Because that might tap into the truth of this when I stop being right about the things I was overthinking. Um, could be could be Virgo, but usually the Virgo over analysis is more it's really just it's more less practical. It more gets in the way. You're going to learn with Virgo energy to analyze appropriately, and when to analyze, when to actually stop over analyzing. And so I guess if the person is saying I'll stop being an overthinker when I stop being right, it's possible then that that's more Aquarius and maybe a Sagittarian flair, because of what their truth is. And so, what have they been right about? Have they been right about ideas that people were like, no, 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 and then the people come back later and they go, actually, you were right about that. Because if that's the case, that's actually more Aquarius. That's more Aquarian energy. The Virgo energy here, I guess at one point it's like, okay, yeah, they're overthinking, but I mean, you can kind of sense when somebody is overthinking as a Virgo, the energy that's in play is more, it kind of just gets in the way. It slows them down, it grounds them, it keeps them from really being able to move forward. And usually the more they overthink of it, it just kind of stills them as opposed to preparing them for what it is they're about to do. So if this is related to something that somebody comes back to them later on, I'm leaning more on the Aquarius side of that actually. So that would be again, I would probably ask for examples or areas of life where where that was the case. Like if they're like, "Hey, I'm always right in my job, nobody seems to understand me," and what I say we should do, it takes 5 or 10 years, and then they eventually figure out that's what we should do. That can be Sagittarian to have a vision of the truth. That can be Capricornian in order to put it into fruition, and that can be Aquarius because you're just thinking about it. So that the 9, 10, 11, that those natural houses, right? That's kind of how this energy plays out. So I would be also looking at the top part of the chart for this person, the midheaven, and then one house to the left and right to also get an idea. Plus, what their Mercury is and what their third house is in. Now, again, they're talking about thinking, but they're also writing words, so they're also communicating. So keep in mind the way that the people are communicating by writing the tweets is also an example of some energy in their chart, which could be related to Mercury or the third house as well. Okay, Libra. I love Mirror Me. Love She's So Cute. Camera Me. I don't know her. So yes, that can be Libra. But actually it's like one is in the world, one is you kind of more internal, and the other one's more you out in the world. I would actually look at the nodal path. I would look at the nodal path and see if the south node is in an internal house, houses 1 through 6, and if the north node is in an external house, 7 through 12. And I would especially um I would look at it that way. Camera sometimes implies fifth house, but if the energy behind the theme of this is more you're putting yourself out there, then that's more, I would say, more north node in an external house. And it's possible that we have to look at the Aries Libra axis as well. I would do that. But actually, with if somebody says this to me, I'm thinking let's look at the nodes first, and then what's the role of the camera? Are they talking like show business? Are they talking like a runway, or are they just talking if somebody just wants to take a random picture like a friend, or they just don't want pictures of them, like they want to stay private, or what exactly do they mean by that? Because then that's also going to help me indicate where in the chart the particular thing is. But my first go-to on that is more nodal path. The Libra, I can see what they're getting at. They're like, hey, there's two different ends of the spectrum here. In these cases, I'm like this, and then in the opposite, I'm like that. But where the problem might be in the chart might be more nodal path on this one. So okay. Scorpio, I be like communication is key, then ignore everyone. Um, if the person has a Mercury in Scorpio, mm, yeah. Although Mercury's in Scorpio generally, they wouldn't say communication is key, but they might they would recognize the importance of communicating. Wanting Moon in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio might want to communicate. Does want to communicate feeling, but the paradox is they have to be vulnerable to do it, and they don't want to be vulnerable. So that's where the ignoring can sometimes come from in the lower expression here. So there can be a scorpionic play to this. There can be lots of other placements though that this can be. If there's a Mercury Saturn opposition. So let's say let's say what could we do? I mean, yeah, a Mercury Saturn opposition. I was trying to think of if there's a particular sign that we could put the sign pair in, but even just a Mercury Saturn opposition might do it. Hey, I want to communicate. And then Saturn's like, not really. So there's a lot of different things to look at. I would also, as per usual, I would look at Mercury in the third house as well here. And is that really scorpionic energy? Maybe, maybe. But why are they ignoring them? Is really the question then. And what's important about having the communication? And then there's some disconnect between why they want the communication and why they're ignoring them. So that may be an opposition. That could be really, it could be a square. Mercury square Saturn could do the same thing in that regard. So, yeah, I mean, I tend to help people with the problems in their chart to get through them, to resolve them, right? If somebody tells me this, they're like, oh, like I want to communicate in my relationship, but I really just end up ignoring my partner. Okay. Usually it's tied to an example, to a problem. So then I find where the problem is in the chart, and then I'm able to articulate how the energy is getting stuck and how we can raise it to a higher expression. Okay, Sagittarius. I laugh at my own jokes because I am my target audience. Y'all just happen to be there for real. So this can be Leo. This can be Leo, Sag, Aries, the fire signs, really. And actually, so I would not be surprised if the person had either a Mercury in the fire sign, in one of the fire signs, or a fifth house cusp in one of the fire signs. And so the Sagittarian aspect of this, yeah, might just be kind of the a free for all, free spirit, so to speak, and just it's like, hey, like I'm going to entertain myself. Um, Leo in its lower expression wants the entertainment to be received. Sag in its lower expression, I mean, doesn't really care. Sag is really ready, fire, aim. So, I mean, yeah, this can be Sagittarian energy. I would also look at the fifth house and whatnot. No, I mean, yeah, I would do that. Capricornian energy, you're so chill. Thanks. I don't care about anything anymore. um, that can be Aquarius too. I mean, there's a lot here. Aquarius can be very, very detached. Very detached. The interesting thing is, based on the way this is written, how was the person before when they did care about things, right? Because is this really Capricornian energy? Capricorns care a lot, often too much, but they can care in a cold way. And so the you're so chill, was it because they were making way too many things concern them, like a Capricorn moon might do, and now they're just chill. And so could it be the person recognizing, yeah, okay, well, you don't care about anything anymore, but you did maybe, um, maybe, but I mean, usually when somebody is very detached, I'm going to look at Aquarius a bit more. Capricorn still, even if they're not openly caring about something, they're going to be thinking about it. In the Capricornian energy, depending on where the placement is. So it's interesting though, because if the Capricorn Cancer axis is not harmonized, yeah, the person may go from caring a lot about a lot of things that don't really matter to being very chill, relaxed, comforting, and it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Right. So that can happen with the Capricorn Cancer axis. So I can see these energies in each of these posts. I don't think the Facebook person who put them together, I don't think the person's wrong per se. I'm just saying there's more I would look at in these. Aquarius energy. I think making sense is optional. Sometimes I just be talking. Um, that might be more Pisces. Um, that might be more Pisces. Gemini is definitely going to make sense. Uh, Aries, Sag, Mercury's will talk. Usually they have a point. Well, not necessarily Sag. Mercury and Aries usually has a point. Mercury and Sag might not. They might just be talking for the sake of talking. Aquarius energy, um, depending on the placement, because again, the making sense is optional part. Usually, if somebody has a Mercury in Aquarius, things often make sense in their head, doesn't land with other people. They're just ahead of their time a lot of times. And so they go to communicate and it makes sense to them, but it doesn't make sense to anybody else. So is this potentially an Aquarius energy where the person's like, yeah, I just talk and it may or may not make sense? Because really, if you're saying something, in theory, it's always going to make sense to you because you're saying it. Otherwise, how would you have put the ideas together? So if the person's just saying making sense is optional, are they referring to somebody outside of themselves? Like, are they referring to who they're communicating with? In which case, this could very well be Aquarius. Because usually the Mercury in Aquarius or some strong Aquarian placements is they're just ahead of their time. But this can be Pisces. Gemini can talk, but Gemini usually has ideas that come all together. So it's the whole making sense aspect of this that's kind of really getting me here, because there's not really a sign that's going to talk to just not make sense, but there are signs that when they communicate, they come off like they don't make sense to somebody else. And so that's very curious about that here with this person. And then Piscean energy, I love when people tell me they can't read my energy. LMAO, like, did I give you permission? Mind your business. Um, True. I wouldn't be reading somebody's energy without permission. The Pisces aspect of this is more like your energy isn't really obvious to read. Um, it's interesting because for strong Piscean placements, they're very much aware of the esoterics, even if they're not consciously aware of it. And for a lot of strong Pisces placements, it's as if they feel like they don't fit here on Earth because they're more in other realms than they are here. So uh, this this is this is an interesting one to label Piscean, but it's true. So it's like, okay, are they referring to the fact that somebody was trying to read their energy without permission? Pisces is gonna the pi when there's strong Pisces placements in lower expression, things are less structured. And so, yeah, I mean, who knows here? But the idea, is this energy Pisces? I mean, what is this person referring to? Is it the fact that the person is saying, "Hey, mind your business," or is it the fact that the person saying that people can't read their energy, as to the reason why the Facebook person labeled it Pisces? I mean, I don't know if necessarily either one of them is. To be transparent here, I think the idea um, is the less Pisces, because again, the Piscean energy, they're gonna have a foot in the other realm. In fact, sometimes it's almost it strong Piscean placements may feel like they're more in other realms than they are on Earth. I mean, Pisces is such a spiritual in nature, can be very aware, very in tune. So this person may be gifted at reading energy. Who knows? Because if they have strong Pisces placements, they may be able to really pick up on it. And you can do that with other placements too. It's just what's natural. Like there's a huge amount of intuition that comes with Piscean energy. Interestingly enough, as the intuition picks up with Piscean placements, there's less logic. There's less logic. So it's like, how does a strong Pisces placement, the person just knows something to be true and they can just pull it out of the ether? It's like, yeah, that's true. This happened or that happened, and they're just very in tune with people and things and energy in general. And it's like they have very little information to back it up. But it's because of their connection to the other realms. So very very interesting here. I do think there was some meaning making by putting some of these together. But I like the idea of looking at it from an energy perspective. That's one of the things that I talk about in my free astrology cred video that you can get, the 4 keys for unlocking your unique superpowers hidden in your natal chart. So if that's something that you want completely free, go to astrogps.io/cred. And if you do have any questions or comments about this, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. And as always, aloha, hui ho. I'll talk with you again soon. Take care.